everyone, Dr. Barbara here, and I want to tell you a story about an interaction I had with a, a bully, and it was a guy that I had been with for a year and a half. I'd been with him for a year and a half, and we dated, and everything was great. He was a sweet guy. I really liked him. I mean, there were some red flags that I ignored, of course, but they weren't like big glaring red flags. And I think this is about how, we keep choosing the same type of person over and over again, but they look different each time. And so this really speaks to how long they can keep it going until they get you where they want you. And then the true nature comes out. So we talked about me moving in for 6 months, moving in with him for 6 months. And so I decided to do it. And I packed up everything and, got the moving van to come and moved everything into his house. And literally, the moving van was literally still at the curb and just pulling away. They were still there. I was looking at them out the front door. And he stands up out of his chair and he starts screaming at me, "This relationship sucks." And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. What, you couldn't have mentioned this yesterday, before I moved all my stuff in here? But it's the second I was in a vulnerable position, the second that everything was moved into his house, he came after me. And I saw a person that I had never seen before. A year and a half I was with this man, never thinking that this was going to happen. I could never see it coming. So he held that part of him in check. And the second I was in a vulnerable position where I was totally within his space, he came after me. And I left. Fortunately, I left, and of course it was the promises, "Oh, I'll never do it again. I'm sorry. And it was a one-off. It's never going to happen again." And of course, I believed him. And I went back for another year and a half. And of course, it didn't get any better. Every time I turned around, I'd be just eating dinner and make what I thought was an innocuous comment. And he would just flare up and start screaming and saying I was saying terrible things about me. I mean, why would you even want to be with somebody who had those terrible traits that you were accusing her of? What is that all about? And so finally I had just had enough and I left for good. But it still took me years to get away from him. I had to move away and go to California to get away from him because he just couldn't not scream at me and not accuse me of terrible things. But the point is, until you are in a vulnerable position with them, you may not actually see the real true behavior come out. It's just how they are. Some of them are, the ones that are really obvious, they don't get you into a position like that. But there are some that hide their behavior. So you have to be very careful with bullies because they will do that. And the second you see that behavior, well, I would say to myself, why didn't you pay attention to those red flags that you saw? Because I minimized them. So if I had been more aware and paid attention to those red flags from the get-go, I would not have put myself into that situation. So I encourage you, look for those red flags. Make sure that you understand, that what is happening. And the second you see that behavior, run. Don't go back because they'll never change. They make all kinds of promises. And trust me, I kept doing it and I kept doing it because they kept promising and I kept believing. And, finally I just said, I can't do this anymore. I'm not going to do it anymore. And then I began my journey of living alone. So I wish you all the best. I hope you find these insights helpful. And thanks for sharing your time with me. Bye.